moment we first become aware of ourselves, that primordial I am, we experience both the birth of consciousness and the emergence of sin. This isn't sin in the traditional sense of moral transgression, but rather the fundamental condition of being separate, of being conscious of oneself as distinct and apart. Like a person suddenly becoming aware they're dreaming, this awareness itself creates a kind of fracture in existence. This fracture deepens as we inhabit our bodies. Our physical form, rather than being a simple vessel for experience, becomes a complex mirror that reflects our consciousness back to us. Each sensation, each movement, each interaction with the world through our body doesn't simply connect us to existence. It amplifies our awareness of our separation from it. The body becomes a paradoxical instrument. The very tool we use to reach out and connect becomes the thing that makes us most acutely aware of our inability to truly connect. Think of it as an infinite hall of mirrors. Each reflection creates another reflection. Each awareness spawns a new awareness. We become conscious of being conscious of being conscious, creating an endless spiral of self-reflection. The mind-body, in its attempts to bridge the gap between self and other, between internal and external, only serves to multiply these reflections. Each attempt at connection through physical experience, a touch, a gesture, an embrace, creates new layers of consciousness, new awareness of the very separation we're trying to overcome. This infinite spiral of self-reflection reveals the true nature of anxiety, and even more, a profound desperation. We stand before an endless array of possibilities, each one beckoning with the promise of fulfillment. The dizzying awareness of these possibilities, the knowledge that we could become anything, pulls us out of ourselves, fragmenting our being across countless potential futures. We are seduced by this multiplicity, believing that by exploring every possibility, by becoming everything we could be, we might finally achieve true connection and unity. But this very pursuit drives us further from what we seek. Each new possibility, each new way of being, only multiplies our separation. The more we try to bridge the gap through endless self-transformation, the more we become aware of its fundamentality. This creates an anxiety deeper than mere uncertainty or fear. It is the vertigo of realizing that our desperate reach for connection through infinite possibility leads paradoxically to infinite separation. The paths multiply endlessly before us, but none lead to the unity we crave. Our consciousness, in its attempt to transcend its limitations through endless self-reflection and transformation, only makes us more acutely aware of those limitations. What began as liberation, the intoxicating freedom to become anything, reveals itself as a kind of exile. We are pulled outside ourselves by these endless possibilities, scattered across them in our desperate search for wholeness. This is where we encounter what Kierkegaard calls infinite resignation, a radical acceptance that contains both pain and liberation. The recognition that our very attempts to overcome separation through consciousness and bodily experience actually deepen that separation. It's like trying to reach the horizon. Each step forward moves the horizon further away. Yet Kierkegaard suggests this isn't the end of the story. In the very moment when we fully recognize this infinite spiral of reflection, when we understand the impossibility of achieving unity through our own efforts, we stand at the threshold of what he calls the leap of faith, embracing the impossible after fully accepting its impossibility. Not a blind jump into irrationality, but a conscious choice to believe, despite knowing better. Like holding two contradictory truths simultaneously. That perfect unity is impossible, and yet choosing to believe in it anyway. It's passion beyond reason, not beneath it. A higher form of madness that transcends both despair and mere optimism. This is what makes Kierkegaard's vision so radical. He suggests that true connection comes not from trying to escape our condition of separation, but from fully accepting it. The leap of faith isn't about transcending our separated state, but about finding meaning within it, about discovering that our very separation might be the ground for a different kind of relationship with ourselves, with others, and with existence itself. This creates a kind of existential vertigo. Our entire being, mind, body, spirit, strains toward connection with an almost violent intensity. We reach out with our thoughts, our emotions, our physical gestures, our art, our love, our prayers. Yet each attempt at bridging this gap becomes transformed into yet another testament to its unbridgeability. Every effort to touch the essential nature of being becomes a new proof of our exile from it. The very intensity of our desire for connection amplifies our awareness of its impossibility. We find ourselves caught in an ecstatic dance of yearning and repulsion. Ecstatic not in the sense of joy, but in its original meaning, to stand outside oneself. Our very attempts to return to unity push us further into this state of standing outside ourselves, creating a dizzying spiral of consciousness. This is why the experience is simultaneously rapturous and devastating. We are most alive in these moments of reaching out, yet each reach confirms our fundamental alienation. The pain of this condition is not a simple hurt, but a complex wound that deepens with every attempt at healing. We are like Orpheus eternally turning to look at Eurydice. The very gesture meant to confirm connection becomes the act that enforces separation. Yet we cannot stop turning, cannot stop reaching, cannot stop trying to bridge this infinite distance. This compulsion to connect, even in the face of its impossibility, defines the tragically beautiful nature of human consciousness. And perhaps most poignantly, this shared impossibility of connection becomes itself a kind of connection. We are all united in our very inability to unite, all joined in our fundamental separation. The ecstasy of our reaching becomes a sacred dance, holy precisely because it cannot achieve its aim, profound exactly because it illuminates the depths of our distance, even as it tries to bridge it. In the deepest abyss of our separation, where our cry for unity shatters against the walls of impossibility, God appears like a mute thunder, not as an answer, but as the very question itself made luminous. In this space where all our attempts at connection collapse, where our reaching turns to ash in our mouths, here, precisely here, the divine heart erupts into being. Our cry of separation becomes the birth cry of God's presence. We do not find God, God finds us in our lostness. Our wounds become windows, our absence becomes presence, our cry becomes creation. And in this shattering moment, we discover we are not merely witnessing the divine heartbeat, we have become it. Our very impossibility pulses with God's possibility. Our separation becomes the sacred space through which God sees the world. We become the prism through which divine light fractures into existence. Our broken attempts at connection become the very rhythm of God's heart, beating eternally in the space between reaching and failing, between crying out and falling silent. In our deepest wound, we become God's eyes. In our profound separation, we become God's heart. In our impossible longing, we become God's breath. Not because we have transcended our condition, but because our very condition has become the vessel of divine life.